Well, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, man. Was it...
It's coming.
I was watching, and first of all, for people who want to get tickets, it's on Fathom Events. So if you go to fathomevents.com/reboot, it's in theaters October 15th, and it's one of those deals where it's a special event.
October 15th and October 17th. But then October 19th, that's the Fathom Events thing, where you can see it in any multiplex around the country.
Yeah.
Then October 19th, Jay and I go out on the Reboot Roadshow tour, where we take the movie right now it's 62 cities. I think we're adding 3 more before it's done, so 65 cities. It's like a legit tour, man.
Do you like doing those tours? The first one you did, Red State was the first
Red
tour,
State,
right?
And we did it well, but we didn't we were we got 10 dates and then we're done. And it's no, we should just keep going.
And do you watch the film every time?
Yeah. And this time, I'm really looking forward to watching this one each time because I love the movie. I'm so deeply in love with it. It's meant to be like a big... When I had the heart attack and I was laying on the table and the doctor's like, you have a 80% chance of dying tonight. I was like, oh, good Lord.
Wow, they say that to me every time I perform.
But I was relatively okay with it. I'd reached a place of peace where I was like, well, if I died tonight, so be it. I've had a really good life. And then I was like, wait a second, though. If I do die tonight, the last movie I made was Yoga Hosers. Oh, fuck. So I was like, I got to live, Doc. I got to make Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So the movie became... this, everyone hates when I say it, but I can't think of any other way to describe it. It's not, you shouldn't put it on the poster. It's not a really good marketing hook, but to me, it's a big, fat, cinematic gravestone.
I was going to say love letter, gravestone.
Gravestone's a good way to put it.
It's like me going this was my whole life. The movie tracks every flick I've ever done. It sequelizes Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, even Dogma, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back talks about the podcast. My family's in it, Jay's family's in it and stuff. It's like a big scrapbook. I kind of went at it when I was making it this is it. Because, my old man had 2 heart attacks. And the first one, he made it through. And the second one, he didn't. I've changed my life. I went vegan, lost a bunch of weight. But at the end of the day, I'm subject to the fact that my parents gave me a bump.
Genetics,
as it is. So if the second one comes back and does me, and regardless of how much I've changed my lifestyle, I wanted to make something that was here it is. This is my eulogy, last will and testament. So making of this movie, did you ever see Big Fish?
Yeah, of course.
Last 10 minutes of Big Fish where they're carrying Albert Finney through his life. That's what the whole making of this movie was like. Everybody I know and loved ever came back and stuff like that. And they all came down to New Orleans. I got to play with all my old toys again. It was so wonderful. Because after the heart attack, I felt like an old man. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull out the toys. This will make me feel
Do you like
again.
being a vegan? Because I've thought of it because I like animals so much and
Jason
I feel
Mewes
so
is coming
shitty.
in.
Okay.
Oh,
Hey,
shit.
What up, young man?
Movie star Jason Mewes.
Jason
Do you
Mewes
like
is
eating
here
like a
joining
vegan or
us.
no?
I do. I joke, wherever I'm
going on,
on
man?
stage, I'm sure I do it. I didn't do it here because we're all pros, but out in the world, my go-to joke is I'm vegan now. Used to be happy, now I'm fucking vegan. So, but it is a joke. I actually like being vegan. I don't miss anything. I'm never oh man, if only I could have that. There's enough options out there for us, fake meats and stuff.
Because there's that whole
Not
cruelty
true,
to
bro. I've
animals.
had burgers in my hand and he's ripped them out of my hand.
Yeah,
and
but
started
give me
throwing
that.
it, smeared on his face.
Give me that, I'll fuck you in the
Smell
mouth.
So did you want to, I'm glad you're here, Jason, because the movie, it opened, and it's in the trailer, so it's not like a spoiler. But when we first are reacquainted with Jay and Silent Bob, Jay has his dick tucked back and his pants down. Is that something where you were like, look, we need to let everybody know that Jay and Silent Bob are here, and this is what they're up to in 2019, and we need your dick tucked back, Jay, and it's necessary.
I mean, I wish it was my idea, but it was Kevin's. He loves seeing my mangina.
I don't like seeing his dick, but I like when he tucks it. It's pretty hot. I'm like, I could fuck him.
Yeah,
Would he fuck me?
He's watched me a few times and masturbated to me touching my mangina. No, it's not true. But I do think it.
I just went so far as to say I would fuck you, and then you tailor it back by going, he jerked off once.
Because they would believe that, not you
true.
fucking me.
I believe both.
They believe
Wow,
you
good point.
jerking off in a chair
When
while
the
I'm
servant
standing
becomes
there.
the master. Holy shit, my face is all alabaster.
But you saw it and you were like, okay, yeah, this is what we're doing.
I love it. I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's been fun. The only one that I was a
If
little
I had his
hesitant on-
body, I'd fucking do it.
I don't have
you
a
tuck?
I'd tuck all the time. I wouldn't even do it in movies. I'd be on the street and shit. Just
Which is where this all started. And when we first met, he used to be like, I'm going to go get a bowl. I'd go to his house and harass him because I liked hanging out with him when I was younger. He had a big wall of comic books, hundreds and hundreds, and a bunch of movies and stuff. And then I'd go over and be in his room and he'd be like, don't touch anything. And then he'd go in the room to grab something, come back, and I'd be sitting there with my balls and my penis tucked, and I'd be like, I didn't touch anything, bro, but look.
You would just be the kind of guy I'd be driving around with. He'd be like, "Is it hot in here?" I'm like, "No, why?" And you look over and his like dick is out, and he's like, "Ha ha 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 ha."
So this really was your like this is your life to yourself. Where you're like, you know what, that mangina has played a very important role in my life.
I've seen his dick and lack of dick more than I've ever seen my dick in my own life. So it had to go in the movie.
It has
well.
to be there. There was so many because you know, the whole universe that you guys created with these characters, like that was like pretty much anybody in my generation, our whole high school experience. You know what I mean? So we're like in love with the whole thing. So when I turned it on, and it's just like every character ever, and then the references, like you got so detailed. There's a scene where you're eating chocolate, and it just even in the way you're licking your fingers.
Yes.
I go Mallrats. Like
You saw it.
I
You
saw
pulled
it
that
immediately. I was like,
literally, that was my direction to him in the car. Remember in the car, I was just like, hit each finger like Rooker did in Mallrats.
yeah, like I rewound it just to be like, wait. Was that just in my head?
It is more full of Easter eggs than the last 10 Easters. Like it's just packed with in jokes and stuff.
Are there any that no one has gotten yet?
I'm
Like,
sure,
or no one
I
has
mean,
commented to
I
you
haven't
on?
started seeing it with the audiences yet. Like October 19th when we start the tour, that'll be the first time. We didn't even test screen it or anything like that. I hope to God it's good. Everyone who's seen it seems like it, but we haven't done this thing where it's like, let's just show it to fans. We're about to start that. So I look forward to see if they get everything, and they absolutely will. I mean, if you grab that,
I grabbed it.
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Was there anybody that was tough to get back into doing this thing? Because I feel like if you don't have everybody, you don't have anybody, right?
Yeah, there's, honestly, like the heart attack really helped in that degree. And as much as like you'd call people and be like, hey man, can you come? Thank you. Can you come down to New Orleans for like 2 hours to be in our movie? They're like, New Orleans, that's pretty fucking far. And you'd be like, you do remember I almost fucking died last year. And they're like, all right, I'm fucking coming. I'm coming. So a lot of folks, came back. Like it was crazy. But then there were folks that I didn't even think were coming back who did eventually come back. Like when I wrote the script and we went into production, there was no Holden. Ben wasn't going to be in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was seeing him on a junket. Somebody sent me a tweet of Kevin McCarthy, who does like press junkets all the time. He's out of Washington. He's like their movie reviewer on the news there. He, anytime he interviews somebody who's been in one of our flicks, he usually kind of starts with like a View Askew reference. So if he's interviewing Matt, he's just like, hey man, when are you going to start Good Will Hunting 2, hunting season? And Matt, you can see it on his face. He's like, Good Will Hunting 2. And then he's like, oh, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah.
Oh, you know Kevin, blah, blah, blah. And so it makes, I guess, for a better interview. So with Ben, he was interviewing for this Netflix show called Triple Frontier. And right off the bat, he was like, hey man, they're shooting that reboot. Did they call you yet? And Ben was like, no, and I'm around. I'm not busy, but nobody's called. And so right away, he was like, you have to fucking call him, dude. That's a sign. I was like, that's not a sign. That's just some nice shit to say at a junket. Like, what was he supposed to say? Fuck those guys. Anyway, watch Triple Frontier. It's like.
But you hadn't talked to him in a while, right?
In a while, like almost 10 years.
Did you get him?
Did I get who?
Ben.
Did we get him in the movie?
Yeah.
We absolutely
You did?
Yeah.
We did.
So you did call him.
Something tells me you didn't see the movie.
I did not. I never do.
I watch it for both of us.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You're later, you're like 5 minutes in, you're like, fuck this. I need nipple work.
I could do both. I could watch and enjoy. Did you think that he wasn't going to do it? Or
Yeah, I didn't even write him into the script because I hadn't spoken to him in so fucking long. So I didn't even write Holden in or anything like that. And then for a week, Jason and his wife Jordan, she's a producer on the movie, they kept saying, like, you should reach out to him. You should reach out to him. And finally I was like, all right, you know what? I'll tweet him. And I wrote this long tweet. And then Jordan was like, don't fucking tweet him. That's so gross. Like, just text him. I was like, I got 4 numbers. I don't know if any of them work.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, pick one. I picked one.
You know what's great? If it's the wrong number and it went to somebody else, somebody got the Kevin Smith, Ben Affleck text.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When I was texting with this person, I didn't know it was him. It's not like he sent me a photo and stuff. He started responding. I was like, is this still you? And he's like, yeah, this me. Who's this? And I was like, who are you? And he said, BA. And then he said, this is your father. And then I knew it was Affleck. That's kind of shit he says. Like, this is your father. And so he goes, who's this? And I was like, this conversation ends right now, probably. And I wrote KS. And he was like, Kevin? I said, yeah. He's like, how you doing, man? I said, great. I was about to tweet you this. So I'll just text it here. And I texted it like I was like, we're all having a blast here in the past and wish you were here. But ever since our attack, I don't wish no more. I just asked, so will you please come down and play with us. Like, it'd be so amazing to see you again. I quoted the good King Osric from Conan the Barbarian. I was like, there comes a time when the jewels cease to sparkle, the gold loses luster, the throne room becomes a prison. All an old director wants to do is make pretend with his buddies. And he wrote back instantly. He goes, it's so telling that you still think of yourself as a king. And then he said, I'd love to come play. And he came down and joined us, man. It was nuts. So I got to write, that scene didn't even exist when we started making the movie. And then, suddenly I got to put it in. I got to include him. I got to make a 8-minute Chasing Amy sequel in the middle of the movie. It was just wonderful.
Yeah. Now
it's fun watching a director do like what Tarantino did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, he's just kind of going down these weird little corridors that he wants to go down. That's kind of fun to watch somebody do. When you know the little things that they want to, like, he wants to make a fucking Western in the middle of his movie. He wants to do this.
So you watched that movie, but you didn't watch our movie.
I was just hoping that I would get to talk to Quentin. Thanks, bro. No, they sent us a link, but I didn't know it when they sent it. I didn't realize that we had been sent a link.
In that movie, at one point, we watched someone go watch a movie, like Sharon Tate. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's right. She goes to watch her own film.
Walking down like weird avenues.
Yeah.
Like,
the real Sharon.
No, we're gonna leave it all in. We're gonna. Yeah.
I know, just like let it roll. But I'm happy with my kid was in that movie, so I was like, be as long as you want.
Who was your kid in the movie?
She played one of the Manson kids. She was Froggy.
Oh, how old?
She's 20.
Oh wow. Okay. Which one was? I don't remember. I didn't get all the names. Was she just one of the ones in the group?
One of the kids in the group. Yeah. Like, she had like 1 or 2 lines, but she's in it a lot.
There's a whole bunch of. There's like Hollywood kids in there. Uma Thurman's kid is one of the Manson members, right?
Yeah.
Like.
I think there was a theme he had going on.
Squeaky From's niece?
No.
I made that up.
So your daughter's obviously in this one too.
Yeah, she right after Quentin's movie, we went and made this, and she got to us.
Isn't that great?
It was
Isn't that
awesome.
great to hear from a daughter? Dad, I'm gonna need to delay shooting on your whatever you got going on. I have a Tarantino movie I'm doing.
Going on. When she told me she wanted to be in it, she was like, "I want to try out for this movie." She's like, "I've been reading books about the subject, and I watched a documentary." I said, "What's the movie?" She said, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, oh, my God, kiddo, lower your expectations. I was like, what, are you fucking kidding me? I want to be in that movie. Everyone wants to be in that movie, man. That's a tough one to get into and stuff. And I always tell you to, like, go for your dreams. But, like, I don't know, like this one. So she auditioned for it and stuff and eventually got the part. And I was just like, well, fuck me. What do I know?
Did being your daughter help her?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. The way I heard the story was she auditioned. They don't give you lines to audition with. He says, make up a monologue for your character. So she went in, made up a monologue for her character, and he responded to that. At first he was like, she's too young. We don't really have anything for her. And then like 2 weeks later, he was like, you know what? I like it a lot. I'm going to find her a place for her. So what I heard when she told me that, I was like, hey man, that's great. Congrats. Like, cause she wants to be an actress. She's been acting for a while. And I'm like, thing about acting is like, you put your fucking fate in somebody else's hands. You're waiting to get chosen by somebody else. Says, fuck that. Fuck waiting to get chosen. Choose yourself. Like, you're my kid. I didn't wait to get chosen. Otherwise, I'd be sitting in Quick Stop still. I just went and made a fucking movie. Ben and Matt didn't wait to get chosen. You could fucking write for yourself. So she never really listened. And then after this thing with Quentin, I was like, all I hear in that story is like one of the greatest writers in this business responded to a monologue that you wrote.
Did she make it up on the spot or beforehand? Like, do you know, like a week before you go in, I got to make this up? Make up a monologue.
Like, you're a Manson kid. There's the shit you're going to talk about.
But she wrote it, and Tarantino's going like, that's good.
That's what I heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, when she told me that story, I'm like, look, I'm glad you got a part in a movie, but like, that guy responded to your content. Like, lean into that. Write a whole fucking movie. Fuck waiting for somebody to cast you and stuff.
And I mean, you're right,
including
Jim,
your father.
About like Tarantino being able to go down those roads. The same thing you're doing with Jay and Silent Bob. The same thing Scorsese was able to just do with the Netflix movie Irishman.
But that's a different thing. They've been trying to do that for years, right?
Yeah.
And now Netflix is like, here's all the money in the world.
$160 million.
Good God.
But just
you know what? I ain't complaining, are you?
No.
Like, I want to see every one of them dollars on that screen.
All of them.
Yeah.
They're so good. But just the idea of like several different avenues for creators just getting to create. It's probably the closest thing to going back to making Clerks when it was like nobody was paying attention and I could just go make this movie, right?
Nah, the closest thing to making Clerks was Tusk. Nobody was paying attention to that. Like, nobody thought that. That was the one where on Clerks, nobody was paying attention, and I didn't once think like, what will happen to this?
Mm-hmm.
Every other movie you're always thinking about, like, after that, like critics and box office and all that shit. Tusk, I didn't have any of those thoughts. All I thought was like, I just want to see this movie, which was the same spirit through which I made Clerks. Like, I just want to see it. I don't give a fuck about what happens or anything like that. So this one was more about, Reboot was more about like the greatest high school reunion that we never had with like all of our friends. And instead of being like, oh, it sucked, everybody got laid. And we were like, let's do it again next year. It was just phenomenal.
It's awesome.
Jason, how are you doing?
In what way?
Just in life. You look good. You look healthy.
Thank you. I'm good. I'm doing it. I had a lot of fun on the movie, and now I'm, we're getting ready for the Reboot Road Show. I'm home mainly hanging out with the kid. My kid's 4.5 now, man, and it's literally I'm either streaming. I've been streaming, doing Twitch.
Okay.
Mewes, check it out. But I've been streaming, which has been a lot of fun. I've been doing different stuff, but mainly it's hanging with the kid.
He's been building Legos on Twitch, and people are like, "That's my new."
Wow, they watch you do it and pay you, right? Or they tip you to do it, or something?
I mean,
tip you like, take off your shirt, work your nipples.
Put that Lego in your mouth.
Brick in the bricks.
Hang on, honey. I got to make these gold coins. What do you want me to do with this?
Wow, building Lego. That's a good idea.
It is. It's been fun. People will sit and watch me build Legos.
They find it very zen. They're like, look at him. He's just, because he's sitting there quietly, like he's not even narrating it. He's just building his Legos. And people are like meditating to it.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun. But while I'm home, I've been doing that and hanging out with my kid and getting ready to go on this, the tour, which is going to be like 2 months solid or so. We're going to be gone.
Well,
and
2
the
months
press,
before Christmas, and then it goes again.
Yeah. So
Kevin, you weren't a big weed guy when Jay and Silent Bob first started, right?
No, even when we made Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, like if you watch that whole movie, there's like one real weed joke in it where like they get high with the Scooby Gang. And it looks like it's done by somebody who's never really spent much time smoking weed. Like more like, it looks like other movies you've seen. And this is the first movie, View Askew movie set in the, with our characters, Jay and Silent Bob and whatnot, that I ever made as a stoner. So the movie is much more weed friendly and accurate. There's actually a weed plot line that runs through it.
Are you smoking a lot still?
Oh, like crazy.
Isn't it hard not to eat bad when you're all fucking high all the time?
Not at all. I beat that one a long time ago, man. It just, I don't combine those two at all. In fact, one substitutes for the other. Most days I'm like, do I want to eat or do I want to smoke my lunch? Fuck it, I want to smoke my lunch and stuff. So in the movie, the boys have 3 strains of weed, Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies, and Berserker. That play a part of the plot. And then we brought them into the real world on Friday. We just introduced our weed, to the weed legal states, and California being one of them and stuff. So we had this big, premiere party at this dispensary called Herbarium with 1,000 people showed up. It was dope.
It was awesome.
So we brought our weed into I'll show it to you, but I'm going to keep my weed. Snoochie Boochies.
Look at that.
That's the sativa. It's got us on it and stuff. And then we've got Snoogans as an indica and Berserker as the hybrid. So
do you feel like this will be your legacy at the end of the day? It's
people will forget this fucking movie and they'll still be smoking this weed.
Right.
Because Caviar Gold powers the weed. They're the guys that they make such amazing fucking weed. So they're kind of the source behind it. So yeah, I think people forget about this flick and the weed will be its legacy.
I just love that all of your movies by certain people have been called stoner comedies.
Right.
And this is you've never been
done it.
Yeah.
Not a stoner at all.
Technically, the first stoner comedy I ever made was Tusk, and that's not even a comedy.
No.
But it is a stoner affair. That movie don't exist unless I'm like, let's make a movie about a guy who turns another guy into a walrus. That'd be fucked up.
How many years between films was this?
Between
this new one and the one you did before that you said you didn't want to be your last one.
Yoga Hosers.
That was came out in 2016 and now we're 2019.
Oh, 3 years.
So about 3
years. You did not like Yoga Hosers, or
I
people
love
didn't
Yoga
love it?
Hosers, but people shit in its mouth constantly. I hate that movie. They come at it so hardcore. That's why I was like, I feel like we went down so far with that movie. There's nowhere to go but up with this movie. And this movie is incredibly self-indulgent. I'm literally in every frame of the movie. When I'm not Silent Bob, I'm playing fucking Kevin Smith in the movie. I think the only time I get away with this movie is post-heart attack. People who want to be like, fuck him, are going to be like, well, he did almost die. Let him have this fucking movie.
Did you really mention the heart attack when you texted Ben Affleck? Like, hey, ever since the heart attack, I'm going to try.
Dude, I mentioned the heart attack in the movie.
Good for you.
It's in part of the plot. I mentioned the heart attack. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, heart attack's the biggest thing that ever happened to me since Clerks. I've been talking about Clerks for 25 fucking years, and now I can be like, oh, and I had a heart attack, too. Yeah. 2 things happened to me.
Is that how you got Matt Damon to come back as well?
He was coming back regardless.
I see.
He's always been fairly cool with us. But we didn't know how we were going to use him. At first, I was just going to use him as Matt Damon. Then my wife was like, how come you never think to use him as Loki from Dogma? I was like, because Loki died. And she's like, in a movie? And I was like, oh, fuck, you're right. I put him into the movie as Loki.
I made up this whole universe.
I can do anything. I'm God here.
That's what I need. I don't have a heart attack to get into. I need something I can tell my Kevin Hart about. Just things that he could get into
that sympathy.
Yeah.
You need
erection difficulties is not cutting it. I've tried that for years.
I remember at one point in my life, somebody said, I forget who it was, but they were like, you could always have a second act in this business. And I was like, I think I'm on my 9th. What do you mean second act? They're like, just the way to change the conversation, you could lose weight one day. And I was like, oh, I'd never do that. And then post-heart attack, I went vegan, then lost the weight. And it did create a whole different conversation. I literally just interviewed with Muscle and Fitness.
Of course you did.
Which is nuts. I have no muscles and I know nothing about fitness.
Editor's job?
Pretty much. I'm like, can I do the comic strips here?
Want more Jim and Sam? Catch up with full episodes and interviews from celebrity guests anytime on demand using the SiriusXM app.